Hey, welcome, greetings, everyone. It's GleeCon, and I'm back. Just can't get rid of me. Here I am, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last one, we continued to drag out the old Stockades quest by picking up the quests around Stormwind and also the ones in Darkshire and Red Ridge Mountains. On our next quest, we are gonna take our hunter and we're gonna run him to the dungeon. I'm gonna pick up all the quests with him first. I've kind of been kicking around in the back of my head. I think I'm even gonna send him to the wetlands and pick that one up too. So he's gonna get all the quests, and then we'll run through them all so you can kind of see how it goes. And I'll talk about how last night's run with the priest went when I did the actual run off camera, and it was an entertaining little run. We've also been reading through the World of Warcraft Original Strategy Guide, the official strategy guide. We're about 5-6 chapters in. We read about the different classes last time and there was a sort of a deeper dive into some of the stats. So stay a while and listen as we jump back in. I believe it's chapter 6, and we'll do 1 or 2 chapters if we continue this pace, but you never know, we might fly through some things. This is going to start us off on finest tools. Probably going to be about gear. So they give you the stats that are on the gear, how to customize your character with equipment. It says juggling armor. I don't know why they would give you that, but these are the 4 types. They also give you the tips to what weapon you'd want to use. It says, here's a tester tip for rogue weapons. It says a rogue is built around daggers because of backstab and ambush. Now, daggers give you the speed damage on those move. Fist weapons are fastest and are good if you want to emphasize the poison. But you are going to lose. There's no real speccing for fist weapons, and you are going to miss out on those moves. Maces, it says they can be awesome because they can make you stun all the time. So that's pretty cool, maybe even in PvP. So that's neat if you wanted to have like a sort of a mini stunlock type character, but that's rare. You don't see that. And then swords, they do more damage. This is a viable. The 2 viable specs you see are dagger and swords. You don't really see fist weapons or maces that often in the meta. They also say that, hey, you can choose shaman weapons if you're melee, and I've seen one-handers with a shield or 2-handers, and it says, I would say, rather than reading this, I would go into the things that I've read, which talks about if you want one of the best things you can do with a shaman is really keeping the stone claw totem up at all time. Then you can bob and weave, timing the swing of your 2-handed weapon. And I guess that can really minimize the damage you take from mobs, because they will like try to swing and miss or whatever, and then you can get your you got to kind of like bob, and it seems like a lot of work for me to minimize the damage, but I guess true pros out there will do that. And then they also talk about mage choices. I would say this goes for warlocks as well. It says daggers and an offhand item are good, but you could also do swords in an offhand or staff. I like the staff because it gives you the stat bonus. That goes for really pretty much any caster. They tell you how to find the loot, anywhere from just looting, questing, crafting, buying, auction house, or having people give it to you. A raid content update. So this is an interview with somebody that's explaining, hey, because this is when the game first came out. So I think we've already passed. Yeah, that chapter, boom, that was all of chapter 6. So now we're jumping right into chapter 7 already. And this gives you the power word shield. And it's just like an interview. I don't know what they're talking about. They give some cool pictures of like, maybe that's Onyxia or Blackwing from Blackwing's Lair. And that's it. Just a little interview, because at this point, I don't really think they have a a lot of this is almost pre-raid, but they're just talking about, hey, stay tuned. That's how early this book came out. They didn't even really, they couldn't give you information about the raids because they weren't even in the game yet. Okay, so then PvP now, this gives you the counterattack picture. They just give you tips for PvP. So bait people, jump before being jumped, corpse camp. What is jumping? It's basically hitting someone from behind when they're otherwise preoccupied. Having a buddy system, use the landscape, buildings, CC, and then escape. The right and wrong way to die. So it's talking about try to be strategic where you die, be creative, be prepared, drop dots. Finish what you start. I don't know. I guess don't try to kill people. Know when to fight and when not to fight. Hearthstone in PvP. I guess if you're in world PvP, this might be before Battlegrounds, honestly, and that might be part of where some of these tips come from. Hit and run. Use short guild and character names. They're saying because your name could peek out from the side. That's actually an interesting tip. If you're literally hiding. And be ready to get your mount form or sprinting or whatever. So then they also kind of give what are the perks of each class in PvP. Druids are a jack of all trade. Hunters are so annoying in PvP. Yeah, especially, and I probably think so because I'm a rogue, and they're rogues will particularly dislike them. Yeah, rogues, hunters v rogues. Freaking hunters own me in PvP. Mages can sheep people. Oh, they can't sheep the Forsaken? That's probably changed by now. Paladin. Yeah, they're very tough to take down. Priests can heal and buff. Rogues are great in PvP. They do great damage, especially against clothies. Plus they can stealth and sprint. Shaman, they said they're powder kegs. They can buff the whole team too. Warlocks are similar to hunters, but they're just not quite as survivable. And then warriors, of course, are just big and tough. There's normal servers, and then there are factional PvP servers, which I don't ever play that. I don't think I've ever made a character on a straight PvP server before. And then they kind of talk about contested zones versus regular zones. That really only comes into play in PvP servers. But I guess a lot of people do that because lots of guides, even current guides I read about, talk about that. And then they talk about the honor system in PvP, the flag when you get flagged for PvP, the time that you get stuck on it, how to do group PvP, which is kind of a precursor to Battlegrounds because, they don't have, I guess they do have some, but not real instanced Battlegrounds. This is more like contested zones they're talking about. Open ground fighting, dueling, arenas, those exist. And then they give some tester tips. PvP tips as a mage. This is a lot. They're just really focusing. They got a whole big page here. When fighting a melee, I want to root, snare, and shield, and use my heaviest and quickest casting spells. Long cast spells will get you killed in PvP. That's just an example of one set of tips. But sure, if you are really interested in some old school classic PvP tips for a mage, they've got you covered. Then they do some of the same things for warlocks, shaman. Oh, they kind of gauge them. PvP, priests are easy, mages are medium, paladins are easy to medium, druids easy, rogues are hard, warriors are hard, warlocks easy, hunters, question mark, because I never fought one. What? Okay, so the tips they're giving you are so sparse that they've literally never even fought all the types of class. Okay, now this warriors tips, they actually give you here's the talent points you should spec as. And then they give you some actual strategies. They have fought everyone. That's a little bit better. All right. So again, like I said, at some point we might start jamming through this book, and because I was thinking that this might happen where it would be really dry, nothing we need to read since we're really considered with lore, and we're just looking at this kind of almost anecdotally. So chapter 9 here shows a picture of a blacksmithing profession tab, and it's crafting and professions. Choose your options. Let's just look at some of the basic concepts. Alchemists make potions and elixirs. It can transmute. Yeah, so just telling you what the class does, and the same thing with secondary jobs. They show you the 4 ranks. They show you equipment, whether you buy it, players make it, permanent types of equipment like an anvil that you can't carry anywhere, gathering professions. Here we have a little comic. Do I look like a little girl to you? Not really. Do I have cute blonde pigtails? Little dress, maybe? Not that I can see, no. Well, I just assumed that you thought I was Goldilocks, seeing as you left me alone back there with 3 bleeping bears. You want to tell me what's so great over here? There was a silverleaf bush, and besides, you seem to have made it okay. Oh, yeah, I was fine. They just wanted to talk. Turns out only I can prevent forest fires. That's nice. That is literally, I mean, minus the snark and the wah joke. That's pretty much what happens when I question my wife all the time. I'm like fighting 3 guys. She's the healer and I'm the warrior. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm dying. I need to heal. And my wife's like, well, I had an herb over there. I needed to get mining. Similar thing. Let's try not to be so focused on minerals that you lose sight of the larger picture. Oh boy, silver. Oh boy, no. Dink, dink. Yeah. Lamb's wool. Oh, skinning sheep earns you wool, not leather. Interesting. Good to know. So you could run around Elwyn Forest skinning sheep if you need that wool. Okay, manufacturing. There's a deeper dive into alchemy. It says if you're trying to... They're reminding you here, I think, put stuff in your bank and use the herbalist bag if you're like finding yourself to be very full. They really need to just increase the stacks, and that's what they do later on in retail. They give you... What's cool here is they give you the full recipe for everything. That's cool. They also give you the full recipe list for everything blacksmithing. So that's cool. If you wanted to have this like at your fingertips, that would actually be kind of useful. For something like that, I'd keep this book around on my desk anyway, just for that. Enchanting, it is hard because only the good stuff. You have to break down good gear to get it. And soulbound windows, yeah, you have to enchant using the little bottom thing, and then they give you the recipes for the enchantments. Engineering makes bombs and dynamites, pets, trinkets. Engineering is pretty OP, and as far as the meta goes, you pretty much have to be an engineer because there are certain things you can equip that you can't equip, and since trinkets are not ubiquitous, they're very hard to come by, very niche. You're not sacrificing a lot like stats or something if you pick a trinket. So the ones where you store the buffs and stuff, that's a big those are like must-haves. Leatherworking, here's your recipes for that. Really, it's mostly gear. Leatherworking is a tough one, but it's nice to have the buff to the armor. Tailoring is best for those bags. Everyone has special talents. For example, here is Yarnmaster Grawl, the High Knitter of Orgrimmar. What is this? What are you giving me? It's an axe cozy. You put it over your axe. Yeah, I don't see that happening ever. But they make bags. And the secondary skills, here's cooking. Check it out. This wolf had a recipe for seasoned wolf kebabs. Why would he have something like that? I've done it. The most tender wolf kebab recipe in the world. That's kind of funny when you get something, a ridiculous drop. That's one of the funny parts of the game. That their loot tables contain such ridiculous stuff. Fishing, first aid. Fishing poles don't make good weapons. A barefooted man in some yoga pants and just fishing. Bald-headed. Just normal. All right, so now we're on to Chapter 10. It's got a guild tabard, and we are going to talk about guilds. What's in the name? Different types of guilds. You want to join my guild? How many members do you have? Just you and me, baby. Not every guild is worth joining, that's for sure. How to manage it, and they give you the different guild screen features. I've never created my own guild, actually. I've kicked around the idea. But then I don't want to recruit. Like, I just don't want to... It doesn't seem to me... I like some of the aspects, especially in retail now. There's so many cool guild achievements. But I don't have. I just. I like to ebb and flow and play on my own time, and I don't want to. I'm not. I've never gotten into that where I'm like always consistently raiding or doing mythics on a set time schedule. I don't like to obligate myself to that. Other types of guild commands, and this is they just give the commands from it, and then here's the crests, pictures of them if you were to design your guild tabard. So that's neat. A little turtle there, some boots, and then kind of like nowadays in like a lot of games, if you have especially Blizzard games, you can kind of alter or whatever your thing. All right, one of these chapters is going to have to be long because we're down already. We're blasting through. We're on chapter 11, which is the world of Azeroth, and it looks like we're going to break down the zones. Maybe this is where it gets long because we're down to 5 chapters, but we're not even halfway through the book yet. All right, so they give you all the zones. They tell you some things about quests. Yes, so now we are really going to get into, like we did with all the starting zones, here's the actual strategy guide portion. Okay, we'll read an overview of each zone, and we'll see how long this one gets us. Stormwind is one of the few great human cities that remains after many wars. Threatened on all sides by gnolls, orcs, and undead, Stormwind offers a measure of protection and hope to the people of the East. Within the mighty walls beyond the Valley of Heroes is a city where violence and struggle is only found in pockets. The underground stockades is a dangerous place to wander because of constant riots and outright attacks, but the rest of the city is often calm. Children play in the streets, vendors hawk their wares, and life continues despite the hardships of Azeroth. So they give you all of these quests. Brother Christoph 40 quest? Oh. I don't know what the heck. What's that? The protective hide? I don't know what that means. Brother Christoph 40 quest, does that mean you've got to be like level 40 to get it? The Argent Dawn. So they kind of tell you what's in all of these things. Even better, look at this. This is, why is the Wowhead just not ripping right from this? This is a straight quest list, minimum level, quest level. I mean, it's not sortable, but that's pretty sweet. So they literally list all of the quests. They give you what you get as the rewards, what level they are, who you start it with, who you finish it with, is it part of a chain, the XP, if it's below level or above level or in the middle, all the different potential XP you can get. That is cool. I like that. Because now I don't know how this goes with updates. This might be missing some, but if I'm having a hard time with the database, I think this is something that we'll have to look into, because this is pretty neat. I think when we do the Burning Crusade, this is a resource that I'm going to use, because or I'll use it to cross-reference at least the database on the Wowhead or Wowpedia, whichever one it is. Because for that one, I'm not going to do like I did this time. Like I said, I'm only going to make 1 or 2 characters, but I'm going to be a lot more thorough in checking everything that I missed. So I think this is something cool. All right, so they get into the Blasted Lands. I'm not going to spend as much time kind of fanboying as I just did, but and I don't know why we just go right from Stormwind to the Blasted Lands, but okay. Maybe it's a geographical link, because it's obviously not alphabetical and it's not like geographically connected. The Burning Legion was able to warp several places in the world to match its hatred and power, and the Blasted Lands have something much in this way. Suffered. The Dark Portal sits here, ominous in its presence and guarded by those who seek the demon's return. This is what would happen on one of our projects if I have to do this. I'm going to have this bent like this. Something cultists and warped beasts walk through the blasted lands almost unchecked, save for an alliance stronghold, Netherguard Keep. Though well stocked with people and provisions, the outpost of humans and their allies is scarcely enough to hold back the something danger from the rest of the southern lands. Who can say what would happen if enough warlocks gathered at the portal one day? And then they kind of give, again, the areas and the quests. Burning Steps. So it looks like now we've switched over to alphabetical. So maybe they're, I see. So it is regional. So they're saying, okay, you've got Azeroth, which by Azeroth, they mean the southern eastern kingdoms chunk of the game. And we're going to say the capital of that region is Stormwind. So they started there, and now we're going to go alphabetically. This is my take. The Burning Steppes are more dangerous than almost any realm in the east, save perhaps the Plague Lands, where the Scourge is located. In the Burning Steppes, massive drakes, whelps, and dragonkin thrive in the heat, ash, and shadow of Blackrock Mountain and other great mountains that line the area's perimeter. Passage into the steppes is mainly possible through something through the road up from Lakeshore and Redridge, but the creatures are so terrible in this land that few dare approach. Yeah, like you can get there from Redridge, but you wouldn't for some time. Duskwood. Duskwood has always been a place of quiet refuge for those who don't like the hustle and bustle of life in Elwyn Forest. For the moment, it has become quiet for other reasons. The silent dead now wander through this once tranquil forest, slaying the living and threatening to overwhelm the town of Darkshire. People of that town speak of Raven Hill, a western town where the people have all but disappeared, and through it all, a force of great power wanders about the woods, calling to the people of Duskwood, I hunger. Cool. Elwyn Forest. Elwyn Forest has been a quiet land for some time, but pressing attacks from the Defius gang and nearby gnolls have made the humans here nervous. It seems that the times of peace are over, because only the mighty city of Stormwind seems immune to the presence of foul beasts and aggressive bandits. The once great copper mines of Elwyn are plagued with kobolds now, and the people of Goldshire have had to arm themselves against the wild beasts of the valley. Cool. More quests here. I wonder, does it give the drop quest that we had? So let's look and see if they mention this drop quest. Lost a half-eaten body. I'm looking at the quest launcher. I don't see the one that's launched, for instance, by the... It says Manhunt. Doesn't say what the quest launcher is. But you turn it into Marshal Dugan. Yeah, I don't see. So unless that Manhunt one is the quest where, yeah, we'll have to cross-reference this stuff, because we might be missing drop quests there. Redridge Mountains. East of Stormwind and Elwyn Forest is the town of Lakeshore, placed in the middle of the Redridge Mountains. Under siege by eastern orc clans and hassled by gnolls, things aren't simple for the people of Lakeshore currently. A great bridge that spans Lake Everstill is under repairs, even as enemy catapults lie in ruins along the southern ridgeline. To the north are orcish champions known for their power and bravery, while the eastern groups have even greater leadership. Stonewatch Keep on the far side of Lake Everstill sits as a constant reminder that peace has collapsed into a drawn-out war in Redridge. Okay. And then, of course, they've got all these quests. Stranglethorn Vale. At the southern end of the Eastern Kingdoms is an area of rivers, jungle, and coastline known as Stranglethorn Vale. This gigantic section of the continent is home to many beasts, and it is also a place where goblins and pirates are found in great numbers. The horde settlement of Gromgall is here along the western coast, accessed via blimps from Orgrimmar and Undercity. To the south is Booty Bay, a neutral town that is truly a place where anything goes. Some of the finest hunters of big game in all of Azeroth come to Stranglethorn in hope of fighting the rarest of felines, apes, and raptors. Ton of quests here. The Swamp of Sorrows. Through Deadwind Pass, east from Duskwood is the Swamp of Sorrows. This sad land leads toward the Blasted Lands, most dangerous of locations, and the swamp itself seems to have suffered some of the taint from that proximity. Dragon can dominate the eastern swamps, destroying any interlopers, while Murlocs, spiders, and horde patrols hold the south. Fortified and reinforced frequently is a horde outpost in the south and a spot where the Alliance simply has no control or ability to oust their troops. To the north, many swamp-dwelling folk are found, though some are mad and aggressive to all. A few have wisdom to share. And Westfall. Westfall is the breadbasket of the southern lands. Once home to hundreds of the best farmers, the area is now sparsely populated. Attacks from the huge band of gnolls and increased activity by the Deathiest have almost driven everyone out of Westfall. Moonbrook is now a ghost town, save for the wandering of foul bandits, and none of the mines in the area are in the hands of good or honest folk. A militia of the people has formed and rallied around Sentinel Hill, one of the remaining bastions of resistance by the locals. Calling for help from Stormwind, they hold out and work to protect the remaining farms of Westfall. Notice they did not include Deadwind Pass, which is interesting because they mention it, but they don't actually include it as a zone. Okay. So now they've created this other region called Cosmodon. So this is sort of central of the Eastern Kingdoms. This is the Dwarven area, so we're going to start with its capital, Ironforge. High above Dunmorog is the city of Ironforge, a gem in the eye of dwarves and gnomes alike. The city embodies protection, craftsmanship, and stability for the dwarves, Dwarven Empire. Though the gnomes have lost their nearby capital of Gnomeregan, life here is good, and few enemies dare to draw close. The greatest threat in the eyes of the dwarves comes from within. The Dark Iron Dwarves and any traitors who side with their cause threaten to subvert whatever they touch. Ironforge's loyal servants are always on the lookout for these perils. Okay, so that gets us another few pages. The Badlands. South of Loch Modan is an area of open sand and rock known as the Badlands. Many natural predators hunt here, but there are also rare and fierce creatures as well. Dragon whelps of considerable size grow in the eastern part of the region near Uldaman, a place with quite a reputation for danger and adventure. To the west is a horde town, barely more than a well-staffed building to show for itself, but offering what little civilization holds out in this rugged place. Got some pictures of some orcs, gnolls maybe. Straight, kind of deserty. Dunmorog. Dunmorog rests in the highlands between the wetlands and the Searing Gorge, blocked from reaching either because of the impassive cliffs of stone and ice that surround it. Dunmorog is only traversable overland via the route through Loch Modan. This is the home of the dwarven capital Ironforge. Though wolves, trogs, and a small pocket of resistance from dark iron dwarves are found here, few real threats exist. The most dangerous part of Dunmorog is located in the northwest, where the gnome capital of Gnomeregan once bustled with activity. A failed experiment in weaponry has altered the capital into a nightmare of disease and poison avoided by many. Okay, there's just a kind of actual in-game picture outcropping. This picture is not loading. Some do that, but we know it's just going to be more quests. Okay, and Loch Modan. It's a large lake created by the presence of the Stone Rot Dam and the large melt-offs from the surrounding cliffs, offering a blast of color and warmer weather to the dwarves coming from Dunmorog. This is a place of comfort. Yet the presence of many militant trogs and the recent ingress of orc tribes to the north has put things on edge in Loch Modan. The dwarves have concentrated more of their efforts here and hope to fight the good fight against these enemies and perhaps the dangerous ogres in the northeast as well. But setbacks occur at every angle. Could there be traitors in the ranks? Maybe. Searing Gorge. Maybe they'll include Deadwind Pass in this set. No, because alphabetically we already skipped it. West from the Badlands is the Searing Gorge, fed by lava flows. There are dark iron dwarves and elementals throughout the region, seeking the rare metals and sheer power that oozes from Azeroth all through the gorge. A strange cult lies in the northwest, holding true to ceremonies and beliefs that are foreign to most of the east, and these people are not interested in making friends with any who draw near. Those who seek fame, fortune, mithril, and thorium are drawn here as much as the flame. Oh, as moths to the flame. The wetlands. Sodden with moisture pouring off the mountains and drifting in from sea, the wetlands region is swamped with slimes, fen dwellers, and a number of dangerous humanoids. Gnolls, orcs, and traitorous dwarves hold various points in the southeast and northern sections of the area. Menethil Harbor and most of the roads are safe from these troubles. For people interested in archaeology, a large excavation site is located in the mountains just a tad east from Menethil. At the town itself, ships head out to Aberdeen in Darkshore and Theramore in the Dustwallow Marsh. All right, so that sounds like we've done central Eastern Kingdoms now. Now we're going to get to the north, which is a really horde-oriented area led by the Undercity. The seat of Lordaeron, where humans sat in power and majesty, has become a silent place. Beneath the abandoned streets of this lost capital, however, there is a life anew. As the undead build their own capital, this Undercity is home of the Forsaken, caught between the mindless death of the Scourge and the equal foulness of life that they have happily left behind. These undead are sentient, willful, and prepared to fight against both the human crusaders that seek to destroy them and the Scourge that would enslave them at a moment's weakness. Okay. A lot of quests there as it being a capital. The Alterac Mountains. The Alterac Mountains are home to many powerful ogres and to the Dalarans, a group of mystics who use old and dangerous elven magic to wreak vengeance against the undead. While standing on the northwest shores of the area, a person can see over to the grim canopy of Silverpine Forest, a land filled with the walking dead. Yeti hold many of the high snow-filled areas of Alterac, while the Dalarans and the dangerous Syndicate control the lowlands. Okay. Yeah, not a lot going on there. The Arathi Highlands. A fragrant wind of pollen, grass, and other living things blows over those who enter the highlands of Arathi. People from both the Horde and Alliance settle here, trying to farm the arable land of the north and struggle against the many natural dangers of the land. Raptors walk across the flatlands hunting for prey, and there are many aggressive ogres and trolls out in the wild as well. Beware the deadly elementals that spawn near old and forgotten shrines, for they have tremendous power. Seek Hammerfall in the northeast for safety as the Horde, or walk into the small gorge of Refuge Point as Alliance in the center of the Highlands. Okay. The Eastern Plaguelands. Beyond Daramir Lake are the Eastern Plaguelands, home of disease, sorrow, and some of the Scourge's greatest troops. Powerful spirits and spidery beings of magic have changed the land to suit their purposes, growing massive and poisonous fungal towers to promote their plague. Poison fills the air, and the water is dangerous. Only the Scarlet Crusaders and the Argent Dawn are brave or foolish enough to stay here and fight against impossible odds. All wise adventurers avoid the Scarlet Crusade, who see the taint in everything, but the Argent Dawn camp in the east is a safe haven for the Alliance. I thought it was a safe haven for everyone. Because where else would the Horde camp? Oh, we don't want that. It looks like we've lost a key page here. Hillsbrad Foothills. I was able to make it load in a separate page. The gentle foothills around Hillsbrad would have stayed peaceful if not for the fall of Lordaeron. Now these farmlands have become the front lines for the war between the Alliance and the undead of the Forsaken. Terran Mill is a Horde town in the northeast with strong connections to the Undercity. South Shore, loyal to the Alliance, is settled in the south. Along the river, tension is high in Hillsbrad itself to the northwest, and its people are constantly under attack by undead and Horde troops. There is no escape from this by land, and neither does the sea offer salvation. Sirens and Murlocs wander the strands, with settling freely while their enemies fight among themselves. Okay. Silverpine Forest. The gloom of Silverpine is now a calming force for many of the area's residents. The undead control this area with a loose and rotting hand, and there are only a couple of areas that are hotly contested. Over on the east, in the middle of Lordaeron Lake, is a fortress where many gnolls resist the attacks of the Forsaken. On the southern front, there are a number of Dalarans who maintain a keep from which to launch strikes against their eternal foes. Apart from these enemies, the various elements of wolfmen and disloyal undead are dangerous forces for unwary travelers. Heroes from both the Horde and Alliance sometimes come here to battle Aragol, the Lord and Master of Shadowfang Keep. Yeah, they kill him, he comes back. They kill him, he comes back. The Hinterlands. I guess because it starts with a T. In the far northeast is a land that is almost forgotten by those who fight for survival throughout the Eastern Kingdoms. The Hinterlands is an expanse of pine trees and valleys where wolves, owlbeasts, and even dragonkin live. On the southern ridges are many outposts of trolls, all powerful and very much steeped in a bloody philosophy that even divides them from the Horde trolls. Along the northwest end are dwarves and elves who also live on their own apart from the aid or interference of the Alliance. Hunting up in hinterlands is usually safe and quiet, making it a place beloved by crafters throughout the world. Yeah, it's an interesting little zone. And it's kind of closer to the end game. Tressful Glades has seen the ravages of plague and the scourge. The once vibrant villages and grand city of Lordaeron lay in ruins. Remnants of the scourge still roam the land, and the undead who have awakened of their own free will are hunted by the Scarlet Crusade. Murlocs infect the northern shore, and Rothhide gnolls have been seen taking over a farmstead just south of it. It is a land in constant turmoil. Yeah, for Lobies and the western Plaguelands. Above the Alterac Mountains is the entrance to the Western Plaguelands. Tainted beasts, vicious humans from the Scarlet Crusade, and a number of Scourge undead live there. Cauldrons of bubbling liquids are guarded by the mindless dead. The Horde and the Alliance, so seldom to agree on matters, are both at war with the dangers posed by the Scourge, and this is the front line of that battle. To the east is Daramir Lake, where Skullaman sits quietly in a deserted town. Walk here or not, lest your group face trials of epic and deadly proportions. Yeah, tough zone. All right, so now we're moving on to Kalimdor, and they're going to start with Northern Kalimdor, I think because it's easier to begin with Darnassus. The Night Elves have lost much, but they have not lost their hope. Darnassus is the rallying point where the elves meet to plan their healing and restoration of the land. Locked away from many battles, safe on Teldrassil, this is an ideal place for quiet meditation and reflection. Even visitors feel safe under the boughs of the ancient trees, many of whom are wise and powerful, sworn to protect the Night Elven people. With all this to speak for the city's safety, there are still druids who fear that the taint left by the Burning Legion could affect the forest and its creatures even in Teldrassil. Yeah, the picture, this is chapter 11, by the way. The picture, it looks like, is like that Farsight spell. Oh, they're considering Orgrimmar part of Northern Kalimdor? Okay. I guess because they're only going to break it into two regions, Northern and Southern. Orgrimmar never lacked for wood, stone, or defenders. Orcs understand the importance of a strong presentation, and Orgrimmar makes anyone think twice before causing problems near its walls. At the far end of this city, Thrall holds court, ever trying to promote unity between the many tribes of the Horde. Frustrated by internal conflicts, setbacks with the Alliance, and the tenuous friendship with the Forsaken, the Orcish leaders have much on their minds. One pressing concern is the rise in cults, especially those sworn to demonic magics. Orcs are well versed in the horrors of demons and their power of mortal beings. Any who brook with the occult are a great risk to the Horde. Okay. Ashenvale is a lush and vibrant area of forests, meadows, and lakes. Once the home of the Night Elves, it sits with only ruins to remind adventurers of the glorious past it once had. Today, satyrs, demons, elementals, centaurs, and many more supernatural creatures rule this land. The Night Elves, inherently attuned to nature, have started to reclaim this land, but it will take many years before it is safe for travelers to roam freely through this land. Great writing. A+. Ajara. Ajara is... Look at all these things around here. I don't know why. I just thought this was an empty, dead zone. Maybe because it is for Alliance? I don't know. Ajara is located to the east of Ashenvale, named after Queen Ajara, that was corrupted and transformed into a Naga. The Naga still make this land their home along with many other denizens that have flooded in. This zone has progressive something increases of mobs as you travel through the area. To the south, creatures can be found in the mid to high ranges, and they become more dangerous as you continue north. Okay. Darkshore. Darkshore is the first port of call for Night Elves leaving their beloved Darnassus behind. This zone can easily support characters wishing to create a home until they gain a bit of experience. Yeah, this is a long one. As a zone on the sea, it has many beaches and fishing to go with them. Or actually, I don't know, and there's something. While it's not a port, while it's not as large a metropolis as Stormwind or Ironforge, Aberdeen does a good job of supporting adventurers and boasts a fine dock in which ships ferry travelers into more dangerous territories. A little snail picture there. Deathless. I like how they also mention the types of ore you can find in each zone and skinning and herbalism. Appropriately named, Deathless is a land where there is little growth, joy, or hope. In the south, demons move about the hills, poisoning the territory and attacking anything that comes near. They are thankfully lacking in greater demons or leadership. Because the territory is so poorly held by any concentrated force, the Horde and Alliance both have a foothold here, with the Alliance in the north and the Horde farther south. Down. Warring Centaur tribes stay on opposite sides of the lower central areas, east and west. It is possible to join with one of these and turn the tides against the other, improving relations with the first. In a land so unrelenting, perhaps war is the only means of survival. I guess when we do that land, we'll do one of each with Alliance and Horde. Durotar. Azeroth's orcs and trolls call Durotar their home. The Valley of Trials begins to temper the characters with its rugged and demanding landscape. Sen'jin is to the south and Razor Hill lies to the north. Orgrimmar, the capital city of the orcs, is at the extreme northern edge of the region. A new dungeon was recently discovered within Orgrimmar itself, and adventurers trying to prove themselves often venture there before even leaving Durotar for far-off lands. Beginning game dungeon. Felwood is rife with corruption. The once green of the land is now filled predominantly with shades of ominous brown. The Emerald Circle works hard to push out the corruption that has taken over the land. However, their efforts seem minuscule compared to the sheer devastation that surrounds them. This zone is located to the north of Ashenvale and serves as a passageway to both Moonglade and Winterspring. This area is a higher level region, best for those from level 45 and up. That's not lore, that's straight game stat. Moonglade is a special and serene setting with a small village named Nighthaven looking down on it. There isn't much here as of yet, but the way in is dangerous if you aren't friendly with the timber walls that guard the way in. And not only as yet, there's never really anything that goes on there. Some random stuff here and there. Holiday stuff, events, and druid stuff. Stone Talon Mountains can be found in the mountains between the Barrens and Desolace. The Tauren outpost of Sun Rock Retreat lies off the beaten path near the middle of the mountain and provides the Horde with the only local inn. The peak itself houses an Alliance flight path and an Alliance vendor. Though home to many beasts, the wilderness is constantly being cut back by expanding goblin deforesters. In addition to the Barrens and Desolace, explorers can travel to and from Ashenvale Forest through a secret tunnel that burrows to the foothills. Okay, we got another broken page. That was nothing important. Teldrassil is the new home of the Night Elves. This distant homeland is far away from the safety of the Alliance lands, yet they are free from the focus of many enemies. Undead are not tolerated in this forest of life and beauty, and the Night Elves have many protectors that guard the land from any demonic taint. Beware, though, the Furbolg, and they spelled the Furbolg wrong, and Timberlings who once existed in peace and balance with this land have grown aggressive of late. The Druids of Teldrassil seek answers before the beasts and people of the land suffer their own madness. The Barrens. The Barrens are one of the largest zones and a central hub for travel between regions. Savannah prowlers roam the land and remain hidden from younger adventurers, while raptors, centaurs, harpies, and all sorts of other wildlife can be seen hunting or foraging. This provides plenty of skinning opportunities. Ore and herbs are also all across the landscape. 3 dungeons are within the zone: the Wailing Caverns, Razorfen Downs, and Razorfen Crawl. I consider those two to be more like Thousand Needles. The Barrens offers access to many other zones, including Stone Talon, Thousand Needles, Durotar, and Duskwallow Marsh. Of course, that doesn't mention the Wyvern Paths or the port town of Ratchet, where adventurers can book passage on a ship. Yeah, it's a very unique zone that's like different. It makes playing the Horde. It's one of the main reasons playing the Horde is so much different than playing Alliance. Winterspring. The northern land of Winterspring is reached through a dangerous tunnel out of Felwood. The Furbolg who live there are hard to befriend and have a natural tendency to attack anything that hasn't been at war with their mutual enemies for quite some time. On the other side of the tunnel is Winterspring itself, where snow falls, geysers blast into the sky, and some of the greatest Yetis in all of Azeroth dwell. To escape from the cold and the monsters of Winterspring, look toward the center of the valley and speak with the goblins who hold a neutral town there. Ever look? All right, we're moving to our last part of this chapter as we get close to wrapping it up, Thunder Bluff. This chapter was big enough that this will help us. This will be our last one tonight. Rising on the strength of thick ropes and heavy counterweights, the elevators of Thunder Bluff enter into a city that mocks assault and lives halfway between earth and sky. The Tauren welcome their allies to visit and dance or plan with them. The watchful eye of the Cairn Bloodhoof is always looking out toward the valley. The centaurs of Kalimdor once fought hard against the Tauren, attempting to destroy them in their homes. Though this enmity remains, the Tauren have regrouped and are ready to push back against their foes, assisting the Horde in bringing Kalimdor back under a flag of leadership and strength. Dustwallow Marsh. Watery, murky pools scattered among the land are the biggest indication that you're in Dustwallow Marsh. Theramore, an alliance city. A few trainers and vendors. And there are many travel options, including a flight path and a boat going to Menethil on the eastern continent. This is a dangerous area, and only adventurers reaching the mid to highest levels of their training can wander here in safety. However, the Horde is making a push into the region and has set up Brackenwall Village with their own flight path. There are plenty of quests for either faction to take part in, but be careful. The creatures in the march tend to attack in packs, so be cautious while you travel through. Guess I didn't realize it's such a hard zone. Feralus. Feralus is a tropical region filled with plenty of vegetation where the various creatures hide. It's located south of Desolus and west of Thousand Needles and is a contrast to their stark landscapes. This is a region for mid-level adventurers and has many great soloing opportunities within it, as well as some great grouping regions. There are also Horde and Alliance towns within this region. Skinners find this region to offer abundant targets for their trade, and for those looking for good experience at relatively low risk, this could be a place for which you're looking. I didn't realize Feralus was considered so cushy. Mulgore is the starting region for the Tauren. The largest portion of the land is made up of open plains and ringed by mountains and the mesas that make up the capital city of Thunderbluff to the north. Wild Kodo beasts roam the land, and there's a rumor that a massive patriarch walks among them. Harpies have taken residence along the hillsides, and the Venture Co. is trying to strip the land around Thunderbluff and Bloodhoof Village. However, among even those dangerous adversaries, there are heroes. Karen Bloodhoof sits in Thunderbluff, waiting for those willing to defend the land to join him. All right. Tanaris. Gadgetstan is one big desert with all the desert creatures you have come to expect by now. It has lizards, buzzards, elementals, and more. There are also dragons, ogres, and humans, along with an instance dungeon to test the mighty. If that's not enough, head north and check out the pirates. They always put on a good show. It's a good place to solo, especially to farm things you need like leather or cloth. Some great rare items drop here. Julie's dagger. This is getting so meta the further we go. Beyond that, the zone is huge and easily shareable with others. There's a place right by the crater where the mobs drop herbs, so you can kill for the herbs instead of looking for them. I guess maybe some of those like plant beasts. Thousand Needles. This region is located beyond the Barrens in southern Kalimdor. It's a large winding valley dotted with tall mesas all around. Save for the area to the southeast, it's completely flat down there and perfect for some questing. High atop the mesas, the Tauren have built a network of rope bridges and lifts to convey customers to vendors and quest givers. There are no guardrails to keep you safe. You can easily fall over the edge while taking a peek. Get ready to die, Ungoro Crater. Ungoro Crater is the blast from the past. The land is loaded with dinosaurs, walking plants, big bugs, and elementals. As often happens in lands with such menacing flora and fauna, adventurers that have managed to get stuck there wish for your help and frequently offer quests. Targets are abundant, and that helps with the kill quests. There is some collecting to be done, and there's some incredible quests that balance the whole mix out. It's not the biggest zone, which is another plus. There's not an overwhelming amount of running for the quests, and that always helps. It's like they learn some things from from just Ungoro Crater and other things about what people want. All right, we've done it. We're stopping here. We finished that chapter. We will resume next time with chapter 12. They're going to jump into specifically armor. Who knows? Maybe there's some trinkets. Maybe like this various gear. We have jumped up like hundreds of pages on this episode. We're down to, I'd say we're probably a little bit more than 3/4 of the way through the book now. And it looks like we've got a lot of stats, but we'll do a wrap up if we have to on the next one, or not, or it will take us a little bit of time to get through the 4 chapters. We will find out. This one, I'm having a feeling the next couple will be quick, though. All right, we got another episode in Pipe 5x5. Thanks, everyone, so much for watching and listening, and I will see you next time on Lore of Warcraft.